Assalamu alaikum guys. Welcome back to my channel. So today this video is going to be on Breaker block, and before going into this video, idan baka kalla video na order block ba, it is very important to go and watch that first saboda it's kind of important for you to understand breaker block properly. You need to understand what is an order block, because the simple definition of a breaker block is a failed order block. So if you understand the order block very well, it's going to help you to also understand breaker block very well. So breaker block is just like a simple terminology of let's say support and resistance. Idan ka fahimci like the concept of support and resistance very well, zaka like your understanding then breaker block and how it is related to other block. So kamar yadda na ce a farko, a failed order block is shi yake juyawa sai ya zama like a breaker block. And I also said, just like in support and resistance, kamar yadda kuka sani, like the best support area will be an area that used to be a like good resistance. For example, kamar nan area da ku ga cewa ai resistance ne, like it was holding price for like a couple of times. Then when price decide to break that area haka nan above it, to area din zai zama mai a good resistance for price to come back for like maybe continuation to the upside haka nan. So this idea, if you understand this idea very well, then zaka like irin zaka fahimci concept in like order block da breaker block. Why? Because let's assume this area is a good order block a misali. This is just like a introductory example haka nan. So let's assume 1 a.m. is an order block ne. Why is it an order block? Saboda we had a sweep of liquidity a wajen nan. For example, this is just an example. So if this is a sweep of liquidity and one is a kind of strong low haka nan that pushed price to the upside. So after price has gone to where it wants to go, then price decide to, ideally we want to see how price will come back to this area, then push to the upside go for continuation. So like this is a bullish order block for price to come back and respect and continue going to the upside. But what if price decide to break or disrespect the area? For example, haka idan price ya dawo sai disrespecting area din nan, haka nan violating din shi, maybe something like this, ya dan bada reaction then yayi violating din shi haka, then this area now, this order block, this valid order block now zai juya sai ya zama mai breaker block wanda price zai zo using din shi as a what, resistance for like continuation to the downside. I know this is kind of a random example haka nan, but then let me reorganize everything and like do it for you properly for you to understand. So just like in order block, we also have bullish and bearish breaker block. So a bullish breaker block will ideally form like this idan price yana tawowa to the downside. This is also an illustrative example, right? I'm just trying to illustrate it before giving you a proper example. For example, idan price yana saukowa ƙasa with a good structure hakan nan, yana saukowa ƙasa, then this area, like wannan range then should be holding price, pushing price to the downside. Let me explain this, right? Because you have to understand what is a range and like how PDRs are formed, right? So the price is about the one high end. So from this high, sorry, So from wannan high din nan zuwa wannan low din nan will be the range, right? Zuwa wannan particular range din will be the current range. So idan price ya dawo cikin wannan high din da wannan low din, it has to respect wannan high din, like anything within above 50% or anything within this range, the price ya kamata ya respecting ɗinsa for continuation to give you another break of structure to the downside. Like that price should continue like going to the downside, right? But what if price decided to sorry, let me write this again. I just want you guys to kind of understand. So what if price give you this low, high, low, right? So instead of giving you another higher high or lower high, then lower low, right? Say price say deciding a breaking one high in a haka, something like this. This is how a bullish breaker block is formed. So wannan area din nan, wannan area din gaba ɗaya a nan ne zaka nema what's bullish breaker block for continuation to the upside, because price was coming down like this, breaking structures to the downside. So instead of price ya zo ya baka wani new break of structure a wajen nan to the downside, sai me shifting market structure ko kuma change of character depend on the time frame or what you are looking for. But then ideally nan zai zama let's assume this is a 50-minute chart, right? And you are trying to look for an entry. So wannan shine zai zama point of entry naka, which if this area gives you the change of character, let's say this area gives you the change of character, then this is the area you are going to look for your what's breaker block, and then the breaker block ends for me, then price will come back to respect it, then continue going to the upside. So one will be a what's bullish breaker block kind of scenario. Bullish BB breaker block. Then yanda, this is for bullish breaker block, right? So yanda bearish breaker block kuma yake forming is when price is going to the upside hakan nan, price is pushing to the upside, giving you break of structures to the upside. So instead of price ya dawo ya yi respecting wannan area din ya baka another break of structure, sai price ya violating wannan strong low din nan, wannan like if this is a strong low, say price ya violating in shi haka, to abinda za ka yi expecting giving you a change of character, abinda za ka yi expecting shine price ya dawo ya yi mitigating wannan area din nan for what continuation to the downside. So this will be your bearish breaker block scenario, with this as a what last break of structure to the upside, and the structure below should be your what change of character a wajen nan, or shift in market structure depending on the time frame or how you are looking at the market, right? So wannan area din nan shine zai zama inda zaka nema breaker block naka, which is the bearish scenario, and wannan kuma sai zama inda zaka nema breaker block naka in a what bullish scenario, wannan bearish scenario kenan. So let me do something again. And if you want to look for the proper way to look for your breaker block again, wannan I'm just giving you an illustration of how it is formed and how you can be able to like identify it in the market. Then let's assume again, like I told you guys, right, that a valid order block is what turns to be a what's a breaker block when price violates it. So when price is moving, let's say you have a bullish structure, price gives you a what's a higher low, our general say back a higher high, right? So when market gives you this structure, this area forms a what's a strong low, a masali, right? Maybe it is coming from a favor lower, because you know there are criteria for lows. There are strong lows, there are lows that are not very strong, or should I say there are protected lows and there are lows that are not protected. I believe moving forward I will like maybe explain it better, but I just want you to put it in the back of your mind that there are lows that are protected and there are lows that are kind of not protected. So let's assume this area, this low is a protected low, right? And this structure is a valid break of structure to the upside. So the fact that this area is a protected low, there is a way you find a breakup order block, sorry, an order block sitting perfectly around this area, valid order block, because that area is a protected low, right? Price should not go below that area, because that's the concept or that's the idea of a protected area. So if this is a protected area, you don't want to see price go below it if market is pushing to the upside. If price is going to respect your bullish programs, bullish trend, price should not go below this protected low, right? So what you want to see ideally is for price to come back and respect this order block, just like on the video I made about order block, right? So abin da kake bukata shine kaga price ya zo ya yi respecting wannan order block din, ya baka confirmation, maybe something like this, change of character, sannan ya ci gaba da tafiya sama, right? This is the ideal scenario you want to see, or ideal way you want to, like, you are expecting the markets to move. But what if price, when coming to this area, it tapped into a premium point of interest? For example, there is a breaker block here. Sorry, not breaker block. Yeah, it can be a breaker block from a higher time frame, an order block, maybe fair value gap, any PDRA, or maybe just a liquidity highs of maybe the previous day or the previous week. So market tapped into that area and rejected, right? Showing you a sign that za a iya samun deeper retracement before price will continue to the upside. It used to happen, right? There are times that you will see that in the markets where price will decide to violate this area completely, giving you a deeper retracement into maybe another discounted point of interest, then resume the overall bearish bullish market structure ko kuma market trend. So in this type of market condition ko kuma when in this type of scenario, what you will pay attention to is how market is going to like react after breaking this order block, because definitely one order block will not hold price because of this program that was activated, right? Kamar yadda nake gaya muku, I don't want to like get you confused or anything, but then these markets are operate based on programs, and when you start seeing it that way, a lot of things are going to be like kind of easy for you. So bullish trend is, you can simply see bullish programs like the markets, when you believe or understand the market runs on programs. All right. So I believe ICT students, those trading ICT concepts, will understand what I'm saying. So if this programs has been activated, this bearish movement is in play, right? So this bullish PDRE is not going to hold, right? Because we have activated a new like program. So if price is coming like this, it is going to like, maybe when it comes closer to wannan wajen, maybe zai iya ma bada reaction a wajen, for example, then zai violating wajen, possibly ma kai taking trade a wajen nan. A lot of times this happens, right? You take a trade here and price will give you a short term profit, hakan nan maybe viewers, then say violating wajen ya ci ƙasar naka. So a lot of times, if you are paying attention to how price moves, the price will retest that area again. Wannan breaker block ɗin nan for what? For possible continuation towards the downside. So wannan order block ɗin yanzu nan shine zai juya sai ya zama me? Sai ya zama breaker block. This is a simple definition, right? Simple definition of how breaker block forms. Now instead of wannan ya zama order block, you turn it towards breaker block. Simple. Why is it like, why am I emphasizing on protected lows, right? Because it is where you have a protected low that you are going to have a what? Shift in market structure. And my ideal breaker block shine zaka neme shi ne a inda aka samu change of change of character ko kuma shift in market structure depend on time frame, right? Shift in market structure yana faruwa ne a higher time frame. Shifting market structure yana faruwa ne a higher time frame like the daily structures, possibly the 4 hour structure, the weekly structure. Nan ne za ka samu shifting market structure. Change of character shi kuma yana faruwa ne a lower time frame. The way I see it, irin su short term retracement, maybe short term pullback before market continue its initial structure. Maybe you wouldn't understand now, but I will explain further, inshallah, when we are getting like deep into the course or ahead. So this is a bullish bearish scenario, and on a bullish scenario, kuma, let me do it another way. Idan price yana maybe coming towards the downside hakan nan, giving you structures to the downside, giving you a breakup structure, something like this, and maybe haka, giving you this area as a protected high, because this is also a protected high, right? Maybe ka samu mitigation block a wajen. I believe if you understand mitigation block, although I'll also talk about it in maybe one of my videos, or maybe next video I will talk about mitigation block. But this is how mitigation block is formed, right? If you have an order block a wajen, let's say you have an order block and price tapped into the order block, giving you protected high because there's a sweep of liquidity so an area that is formed, a swing that is formed, something like this, with a sweep of, we are in a bearish scenario, we are in a bearish market structure haka nan price is coming down, sai price kaga ya bada haka, ba lallai sai tap into this area ba, right? Ko kuma ma kaga price ya bada hakan nan haka. Now, this area is going to be a protected high. Why? Because it has taken a form of liquidity, maybe previous day high, previous big high or something. Especially when you are in a bearish like trend, say market they are taking the short term high. Now this area is now a protected high for price to come back, mitigate it for continuation to the downside. So this is also another form of what's protected high. But let's say I type in them favor look up for another higher time frame point of interest, but like just try to understand it that way. So but in this case of like in this example I'm giving, this area now is a mitigation block. Why? Because it is coming from an order block. So if there is an order block here, the zone that mitigates the order block is now a what? Mitigation block. So if there is a mitigation block now, right? And I'm expecting price to come back to respect that mitigation block or order block for continuation towards the downside, something like this. Hakan nan, price ya dawo, maybe ya bani engineer liquidity a wajen ne tapping ɗin wannan area ɗin sai ya ci gaba da tafiya a ƙasa. Then price, okay, let's do it this way. Price respected this area but came back again to respect this area again for continuation. So wannan wajen ya zama breaker block. Let's have a confusing ba, because this my example is kind of confusing sometimes. Kun ga nan wajen, this is a breaker block because this is a protected high, right? And if I am not to use this one also, I can use this one too. Price should come back to wannan wajen. Kun ga anan aka samu change of character. Kamar yadda nake gaya muku, change of character ko shifting market structure shine zaka nema breaker block naka a wajen. Kun ga nan area, this particular area is now your what? A breaker block. So if there is a liquidity close to it, then it is the most ideal area for market to respect and continue going to the downside, giving you a new breakup structure. So ba lallai sai an canza shifting, ba sai lallai sai an samu shifting market structure ba ake samun breaker block. But then even if market is maintaining the trend, za ka iya samun breaker block again. Kun ga nan area, the trend is downtrend, the structure is downtrend, so there is no any shift in market structure. There is only a change of character a wajen nan because the market pull back into that order block that is above and change character a wajen nan. So immediately market changed the character a wajen nan, ya baka nan area to be your what? Potential breaker block. So anything around this area, the consecutive bearish candles around this area sun zama me sun zaman sun zaman breaker block naka, this mitigation block, wannan other block, kun ga gaba ɗaya ma na fitar da su like not intentionally, but then wannan will be your other block, wannan will be your mitigation block, and I told you that it is mitigation block because it is coming from this other block, right? Now this is going to be your breaker block, wannan area da ya baka change of character. The consecutive bearish candles around here, if it is one bearish candle, that one bearish candle is your breaker block. If it's consecutive, like 2 or 3 bearish candle all together, would be your what? Breaker block. It's not necessarily the last bearish candle. If there are 2 bearish candle at the same time, then there are your what? They are your breaker block. If market comes to the area, you take your trade when you are in your execution time frame, and when you are in a higher time frame like the daily, weekly, or 4 hour, you use that area as your point of interest as a PDRA for market to come back into. Then you go down to your lower time frame to look for your confirmation. Then you start selling aggressively, like that, like that. So I believe I've given you 2 scenario illustration of how breaker blocks are formed in the market. And again, let me give you this last one on this one, because there are all scenarios, right? So let's assume after market gives you this low, then say market ya deciding ya shifting market structure. Kun ga idan market ya cire wannan protected high din nan, an samu shift in market structure, right? To in dai, for example, let me redo it. See market ya dawo haka, kana expecting market ya zo ya respecting wannan area ba, so sai market ya zo haka, sai violating ɗin wajen aggressively, sai ya baka short term low haka, sai ya baka haka. To kun ga wannan liquidity ne, this is a liquidity because it is closer to wannan point of interest. Wannan ya zama breaker block naka, wannan area ya zama breaker block naka, and it is supported by wannan liquidity, right? So what you are going to pay attention to, don't start expecting price ya dawo har nan ƙasa. No, that's not how it works. If there is a breaker block that is supported by a liquidity, price zai zo ya amfani da iya breaker block ɗin ne ya ci gaba da tafiya sama, especially in ka samu confirmation ya ci gaba da tafiya sama. Why? Saboda price yana hunting liquidity ne, and if price come for this liquidity, wannan liquidity din da ke wajen, price zai zo ya taking din wannan short term high din, then this is the closest point of interest da ke wajen, so price is going to use this one. If you are an SLP trader, in kana trading din SLP, this is usually your setup. You already know that the point of interest, the PDRA that is close to liquidity, is your own point of interest. So as far as this structure is concerned, the Razana, one breaker block is one that is closer to the liquidity that is here, and that's what you are going to use instead of waiting for price to come as deep as into this other block, right? Especially when the market has momentum. So abin da yake yawan faruwa aka so a chart kenan, if you are someone that is very observant, you will have see this a lot of times happening. So I believe na ba ku examples illustration. Let's go into wannan karamin diagram ɗin da na zana. I took my time to like do this so that you people have it as a form of yeah. So yanzu nan assuming wannan structure ne, and this is a bullish structure, for example, market has come like this. So if market is in a bullish program, right, breaking structures, maybe we have a breaker structure a wajen nan and another breaker structure a wajen nan to the upside. The market decide to, instead of something like this, breaker structure haka, pull back, breaker structure, instead of market ya dawo ya taking the one fair value gap ɗin for continuation to the upside, giving you another breaker structure, since the market is in bullish trend, right? Then the market decided it is going to shift what structure or change character. Sorry, no wajen is a breaker structure, right? Kunga breaker structure, another breaker structure, right? Which is the most ideal one. But then the market decided to what? Change character, because this is a change of character. So the market decided to, the price decided to change character hakan nan. The moment price equally below this area, you have a change of character. Then it is going to use the last area, which is the area that breaks structure, as a what, as a as an area where you look for your breaker block. So in this case scenario, wannan last bearish candle in them, because this is the only bearish candle close to the change of character, is going to be your breaker block. So wannan particular candle din nan yanzu ga shine zai zama breaker block ɗinka. You extend it and wait for price to come back to that area for what, for your possible entry ko kuma possible uh, continuation to the downside, right? So idan kai marking area din nan kai boxing din shi, just like we used to do, za ka ga cewa price ya dawo cikin wajen and ya yi tapping ɗinsa, ya yi respecting ɗinsa, ya ci gaba da. This is also an illustration. I'm just trying to give you a scenario of like a rough idea of how it is formed in the market, right? So duk inda kaga change of character naka ko shift in market structure, to a nan ne zaka nema me, zaka nema breaker block naka. Inda kake tunanin in price ya zo zai respecting wajen ya wuce sama, to in dai kaga price ya breaking din wajen, especially with force aggressive push, to ka tabbata price zai dawo ya mitigating wannan order block din nan da ya zama breaker block forward continuation towards the downside. So kun ga wannan is a valid order block before, because what's the criteria for a valid order block? Just like I told you in the previous video, right? You need to see that area took liquidity, right? Let's assume that nan wajen is a protected low, haka, having the low of this particular candle hakan nan, and idan kuka kula za ku ga cewa price ya yi taking ɗinsa out haka. For example, price ya yi taking ɗinsa out, so this area becomes a protected low, or maybe wannan low ɗin ya yi tapping ɗin fair value gap because it is closer to this area, right? Then it push price towards the upside to break structure. So instead of price ya dawo ya yi respecting wannan area ɗin for continuation towards the upside, stay price ya breaking ɗinsa with a what, candle close below it. Now this fair value gap that is here and this other block becomes a what, unicorn model, because breaker block and fair value gap are, in suka haɗu ka samu unicorn model, price is definitely going to respect that area for what, continuation to the downside. So haka breaker block yake forming a kasuwa. Mind you, putting this into like putting this into, ya ma ake cewa da turanci, in dai kaga price ya baka shift in market structure ko kuma change of character, you need to pay attention to that area. Usually za ka ga price ya dawo ya yi mitigating in area, and then the only thing is that if you are using this as your point of entry, then you have to also put this high into consideration to be like, your stop loss need to be above this area, just to be on a safer side, assuming you want to use this breaker block. Because let's say you are using this breaker block as your point of entry, right? And looking at this breaker block, zaka ga cewa it is huge, so zaka iya using 50% ɗinsa, which is the ideal scenario, the ideal case. Idan ka samu fair value gap, fair value gap, breaker block, order block wanda yana da girma, so you should just go for the 50%. Very sensitive, zaka ga price ya dawo ya mitigating ɗinsa. So wannan breaker block ɗin is huge. Let's say it's huge. Instead of using the opening price, like you just, or the closing price in this case, you use the 50%, right? Ko kuma ka jira market ya zo wajen sai ka like ƙara zuwa lower time frame to look for a secondary confirmation for continuation to the downside. But then the proper way to do it is, if you are in a very lower time frame, like your entry time frame, about 15 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, you just use the opening price, right? And make sure you cover this high as your stop. Then you target whatever you target, maybe structure, low, maybe liquidity, or you just target your 1 to 3 RR or 1 to 2 RR, depending on what you usually target when you are taking your trade. So this is how to use the breakup block. And this is a bearish scenario. The same thing on the bullish scenario. The same thing happens on the bullish scenario too. So let's go into charts to find one or two example. Then I'll end the video. Konga price is in a bullish trend from here. Kongani, it's in a bullish trend. seeing baka structures, right? Just like the one I explained to you guys before coming into this example. So what actually happens here is that price ya bada haka sai taking local low. Wannan high din is a local low, which is this one. So you taking din shi sai ya baka change of character. Wannan area din is a change of character. So immediately price is coolly below this area, giving you this area as a change of character. Wannan last bearish candle din nan, kun ga wannan candle din guda ɗaya ne, is the last bearish candle, because it is only one here is your breaker block. Then you can see how price ye pulling back as we respected inside, then it's continue going to the downside like this. Kun gani? Kun gani? After price ye breaking in wannan area din ya baka change of character. And just hope you guys should understand this. So wannan area din nan shine change of character naka. Okay. I'm having a network issue. Anyway, yeah, so if this area is now a change of character, right? Now the last bearish candle coming in the poker gana market answer. Let me change the color so you guys will see it very well. This blue, okay. We use this color. Kunga one machine last bearish candle, and you can see how price came back to its multiple time before it's melted to the downside. Why didn't I wait for price to go as far as into one area? Where is it? One last supply zone. And a lot of people would have decided to wait for one price in ya dawo cikin wannan order block and they would have missed entry because this is an order block, right? But then idan ka kalle shi structurally zaka ga cewa wannan shine liquidity, wannan shine first presented liquidity da aka samu bayan an samu change of character. Kun gan shi wannan shine liquidity din da aka samu. An samu, we had a push that changed character, sai aka samu wannan short term pullback continuation, right? So wannan short term pullback din nan shine early sellers ke ga waɗanda suka shiga early, so they are going to be used as well. Liquidity market is going to come back and take them out and tap into any point of interest that is there for continuation. And what breaker block is there, and you can also use the body. I prefer to use the body, right? Wannan shi ne opening price ɗinsa. Za ku ga cewa wannan bai tapping ɗin body ɗin ba, so price ya zo ya taking ɗin wannan area ɗin dai it took it time it took it time around this area because this is 1 hour. It took almost 1 day before it was continue pushing to the downside. Amma za ku ga cewa the high of the breaker block was respected and price never come above it. It never even came for this fair value gap, right? So this is another example of breaker block. You can see how price was kind of moving to the upside. One number is a bullish example. The price is moving to the upside. See about the one area, then see it always see taking the one area. The same thing as similar to the one chunk for the price I taking the previous day high. Our journal see back one short term local high a wajen nan, sai price zai zo yi changing character. Kun ga wannan an samu change of character ne a wajen nan. There is a change of character a wajen nan, right? So if this is a change of character, then definitely this is where you should be looking for your what breaker block. So these two bearish consecutive candle, in this case there are two consecutive bearish candle. Kamar yadda na gaya muku, it is not only the last bullish candle. If there are 3 consecutive candles a wajen bearish, soon as the breaker block ɗinka, but in this case it is one. I believe in 1 hour time frame it is going to be one, but at 30 minutes it is two. A 1 hour time frame it is one. So price broke below it aggressively. Price broke below it aggressively. Aggressive push to the downside, and price revisited that area again for what's continuation to the upside. Now, why didn't price come to this area, right? One will see you're missing entry. Yeah, if you are waiting for this other block to be taken, you are going to obviously miss entry because this is the point of interest. This is the PDRE that is more closer to the price, and you can see how price respected the 50% and melted. So this is a good example in a breaker block. You are paying attention. So one is a very good example in a breaker block. In the price ya mitigating, ya taking ɗin wannan local high ɗin nan, wannan local high ɗin, and taking this one as a previous D high, then melted, changing character, sai ya dawo ya mitigating ɗin breaker block ɗin sai ya wuce. So this is the best example you can ever see on breaker block. So another one again, yeah, here also, this is a bearish breaker block. So price ya bada deeper retracement after melting from this area hakan nan, sai ya bada wannan high ɗin nan, sai breaking ɗin wannan low ɗin nan, giving you another break of structure a wajen nan. Wannan is a break of structure scenario. So after this break of structure, wannan last bearish candle saboda shi kadai ne a wajen nan, you can see how price came back to retest that area for continuation to the downside. So this is also a very good example. So another example is here. This is a bullish example, and this will be the last example before I end this video. So kun ga da price yake dawowa ƙasa, right? Look at how price is coming to the downside. Hakan nan, price has been coming to the downside, then it reached into, gives you this high, ya bada wannan high din nan, the market ce breaking din shi. Kun gani yayi some form of change of character a wajen nan. Ya changing character a wajen nan. So the price ya changing character a wajen nan, kun ga da price ya dawo ya mitigating din area din, because if you look very carefully za ka ga cewa there is a break of structure a wajen nan, ba sweep of liquidity bane ba, it's a break of structure. Sai price ya bada another break of structure to the upside, so wannan ya zama change of character kenan. Kun gane? So da market ya je gama tafiyansa ya dawo ya yi respecting area din da ya baka change of character. Sai sa na gaya muku, inda ka samu change of character to ka duba wajen za ka iya samun breaker block a wajen. Look at how market came back to exactly that area and pushed away. So I think this is another example again, breaker block. I've given this one. So kun gani market ya bada break of structure, because if you look carefully, wannan wajen break of structure ne, and another break of structure it came to the upside. So wannan ya zama me, ya zama change of character kenan. If you have a break of structure to the downside and break of structure to the upside, so wannan na upside din nan ya zama change of character. So inda aka samu change of character din nan kun gansa nan, price sai ya dawo ya me, ya zo wajen as a breaker block, you can see push to the upside. Even though price ya kara dawowa wajen, it use it again and continue pushing to the, it never comes below it and it never close below it. So haka breaker block yake forming, and haka ake identifying din shi a chart. So this video is just like an introduction to breaker block. So maybe nan gaba I will make a proper video on how to trade it. So this is going to be like an introduction to the breaker block.